Hello everyone and welcome back guys to a new video where today we're here for round 1 of the Online Racing Association British GT Championship. This one is one of the biggest ones on tour, or one of the biggest ones generally speaking in Forza Motorsport as well. You know, apart from things like the FRC, this is quite popular on the whole. We've got over 230 sign-ups for this series, so very much looking forward to it. Overall 145 in GT3 and another 75 in GT4, so very excited for this series. Today we start round 1, then a 7-round calendar ahead of us over the course of the next, 5-6 months I think on the whole. Today we're at Watkins, Glen. In a couple of weeks time we'll be at Circuit of Catalunya. In a couple of weeks after that Silverstone, then a 6-week break before we head to the Nürburgring, another month before we head to Circuit Spa, and then a month after that Brands Hatch, and a couple of weeks after that we finish off the season at Mclaren. Obviously not quite all of the British GT tracks, sadly Forza doesn't quite have as many as I'm sure a lot of us would like on the whole, but we'll have to gloss over that one and carry on with this series. With this season I've teamed up with, for those of you that have been around this channel for a little while now, the Delta Lambo squad, the M25 Traffic Jam, the Dream Team, myself, Matt Gaming and Wolves, as well as our new arrival who is not so new to us because we've known him for a couple of years now, Liam T, as well, an absolute god of Forza Motorsport, really, you know, we're quite excited for this season. We've gone with a bit of a weird car choice, I'll be honest. This championship may as well, in terms of GT4, be the Mercedes and Aston Martin championship. We went with the Audi. Quite good down the straights, and absolute bust through the corners. Jupiter has a better turning circle than this thing. It's frustrating at the best of times driving this Audi as well. I managed to drag it up to P2 in B lobby. I think I was the fastest, I was the fastest non-Aston or Mercedes for the opening round of the series, so I can take that one. Sadly, GT4 was split into lobby of 6s. I'm not too sure why they decided lobby of 6s. It was, in my opinion, absolutely ridiculous. And I think, you know, we'll gloss over that and try not to get into too big of a rant about that one. Because, you know, I was excited to be in A lobby. And then, yeah, they decided to make it a group of 6 for each class in GT4. When we've got 13 GT3s, it just seemed a bit ridiculous to me, as well as a lot of the other GT4s. But as I said, you know, we'll try to avoid getting into too much of a rant about that one for the moment. But yeah, coming now down in towards the final couple of corners then for the rolling start. We've got Aerox Bobby in the Mercedes just in front of me in the AMG GTR. Very good car. We've also got AMR Lawrence as well, who some of you guys might recognise. I basically always end up near AMR Lawrence on the racetracks as well. He's also in the Mercedes. Then we've got a couple of Aston Martins and then THR Sparky and the other guys not running in one of those two cars in the Mclaren as well in this grid. But ready then on for the rolling start. How are we going to fare in this race? It's green, and away we go there. Just look at the Audi off the launch there, straight past the Mercedes. We're going to go a bit defensive in towards turn 1. We absolutely got the launch on Bobby there, so really happy with that one. And now to power through the first few corners of this opening lap here. Obviously the GT3 is a few seconds up the road. They should lap us around, well, they should lap us once in this race by the end. There is also a mandatory pit stop that everyone has to take as well, so obviously that can be quite critical in these races as well. But as we come up towards the top of the hill, you can see we are just gaining ever so slightly away from Bobby, even though he has got the slipstream there, which really does go to show, you know, the German engineering in this car. The V10, it's got a 25% power handicap, but it, you know, it can still motor, certainly. You know, we can basically use all 450 horsepower pretty much all the time. You know, it's almost like driving an electric car in terms of it just goes, which is obviously quite useful on the whole. But through the corners, safe to say we struggle a lot. This thing understeers, well, like I said, like Jupiter. It's a bit crazy on the whole. You know, dragging it up to P8 overall, I was really happy with. You know, there's only 4 Audis in, 5 Audis, I should say, in this entire championship. 4 of them are our team, and then one other guy that hasn't bothered showing up for this first round. So, yeah, safe to say the Audi was not a popular choice. Speaking to a few people, they reckon the Audi, you know, could be a fairly decent car. Obviously, we're not the best with setups between us all, but, you know, we are going to try and work on this car over the course of the season, because, honestly, personally, I do believe this thing's got a fair bit of potential. I think it's a bit, you know, it could potentially be a bit of an underrated gem in this series if you learn to drive it correctly. It sort of suits my style to a certain degree as well on Forza, you know, just the way I like to drive, it does kind of gear towards that as well with the tune that we've got. So, yeah, we'll wait and see in the long run of this series. Obviously, I'm aiming to upload highlights from every single round of this season. Yeah, by the end of lap 1, we are still holding on to the lead of this race. We have got AMR Lawrence all over the back of me, so it's going to be interesting to see how long we can hold that ahead of him as we make a little bit of a mistake through turn 1. This thing can get very, very loose over the curbs very, very easily here, side by side as we come up through turn 2 and turn 3. But luckily, the Audi power just about keeps us in front. We cannot go side by side through there. You do not. If you end up near me going side by side through there, you're probably going to end up in a wall, sadly. This thing just understeers like absolute crazy. You can see it towards the top end. We pull out so much from Lawrence there. He really does not have the best top end in that muck. But through the corners, that thing is just so stable and just so pointy on to corner entry. You know, it's actually quite crazy on the whole. Just look at the run he's able to get through there. And almost to the outside of me as we come now down in towards the next couple of corners of lap 2. He's just able to get up the inside there. And, you know, we can try and get on the power as early as possible. But, you know, he's already on the power, you know, a good half a second to a second earlier. Personally, I think this thing needs a little bit of a bop. I feel like it just needs either front aero, front Forza aero, or, you know, just ever so slightly bigger front tyres, you know, on the whole. Even if it just meant taking a tiny bit off the rear tyres, I think this thing just needs a little bit more at the front end, sadly, because it just doesn't have what it takes. And, you know, with the right gearing as well, pretty much all the other cars can get very, very close to matching it down the straight. So, you know, I feel personally, you know, like it just loses a bit too much through the corners and just doesn't gain quite enough down the straights as well. There, as we almost get killed by a lot of tyres coming down in towards the final couple of corners there. But yeah, Lawrence would therefore be able to move up the inside and up into the lead of a GT4 class Fort B lobby there. So very, very good job by him. And really, sadly, you know, he's just, I know, I race him on a lot of things and he's just that tiny bit quicker than me in most cars. I really do feel like every so often I can just about match him, but usually, you know, he's like my benchmark of someone that I just can't beat consistently in a lot of races. You know, I've raced him over in Delta Lambos, I've raced him in the LCR IndyCar this season as well. I like to think, you know, a tiny bit quicker than him in those races. But yeah, skipping all the way on though to a lap 13, I'd already made my pit stop for this race at this point. You know, it's been very, very quiet throughout the last few laps here. But, you know, we now had the GT3 cars coming through to lap us, and although race 1 was fairly calm, race 2 is certainly one you don't want to miss. Safe to say it got quite dramatic quite quickly between a whole host of GT3 and GT4 cars. In terms of this series, the rule is GT3s must go around us. We follow our racing line. They've got the extra grip, they've got the extra power. They go around us, they have to move offline to, you know, to make the moves work. You know, we don't have to move out of the way for them in these races. So obviously, hopefully, whether they stick to that is always a bit of a different question. You know, I think a lot of the time, looking at this series, based on the rules, although the rules also said the lobbies would be 8 or 9 of each car. Yeah, looking at the rules, it does seem like they are willing to favour GT4 a little bit more this series. A lot of the time in the past, if, say, for example, someone dived on me coming into this corner and I obviously have to turn in because, you know, I'm in a car with a lot less aero, a lot of the time that would be our fault. If they now dive it now, I think they're wanting to see it a little bit more, as the GT3s need to hold back and be a bit more patient there, as GT Racing almost lags into the back of me here. TX3 Shelby goes right around the outside as well. They're not really, you know, the place you want to be against this Audi, like I said previously as well. But still, you know, we continue on, and well, you know, we're coming towards the end of lap 13, obviously the 13th racing lap of this race. We're doing all right at the moment. You know, Lawrence had not really pulled out too much from me through the pit stop window. You can see he's about 800 feet ahead. He had just been pulling away sort of about 100 feet a lap, sadly. You know, he had about a 3/4 advantage over me in race pace. You know, this car, I could get it on 1 lap pace quite well, but just maintaining it over a race stint was much more difficult there. As GTR Jula DT, Sploofy, or however you, I don't know how you want to pronounce that name, SVR bloke, almost rams me out of the way there, because he just assumes, you know, I'm going to move across the racetrack, as LSEM0 as well gets through. And we're just losing, you know, fractions of time here and there. You know, all those moves just cost me, you know, sort of a good 2, 3, maybe even half a second there overall, you know, and those little margins really do add up in this series as well, as we come through the final couple of corners of lap 14 here. You can see, I think we've got another car in the pit lane. No, we don't, not just yet. That's probably in a couple of laps time as well here. But yeah, we're just trying to hold on at the moment. We've got about 1,000 feet to AMS Hurricane just behind you. Obviously, some of you guys might recognise as ex-EVR Hurricane, the old runner of EVR before it sadly got disbanded a few months back. And basically, the only guys left all sort of moved over to AMS as well. So, you know, fair play to those guys. Hope it all works out quite well for them. But, you know, we've still got a couple more GT3 cars on the way. SVR Twitch is going to have a look at the inside. I almost kill myself on the grass there. That was not ideal there. SVR Twitch goes for a huge Tokyo drift through the next couple of corners. Here we've got another BMW. It's safe to say both classes of cars are sort of just two-car dominated there as TUS Spectre launches it up the inside there. I've raced with him a couple of times in the past. Interesting is how I'm going to describe his driving style on the whole. He's certainly built himself up a bit of a reputation, is probably the best and kindest way to describe him on the whole as well. But yeah, like I was saying, GT4, like I explained at the start, is basically just the V12 Vantage and McLaren 570S show. GT3 is basically the BMW M6 GTLM and the Aston Martin V12 Vantage GT3 show. It's just Aston Martins and BMWs and Mercs everywhere. I mean, when you look down the roster, it's something ridiculous, like about 85% of the GT3s are all M6s and Astons, and then GT4 is ever so slightly less. You know, there is sort of a little variation towards the rear of the field as well, but it's pretty much all of the, you know, pretty much everyone in the top running is all Mercs or Astons as well. So a bit sad, you know, the box, sadly, it does seem to favour a couple of cars, at least around Watkins Glen, but, you know, the season will change, stuff like that will happen, and hopefully, you know, we can try and drag this Audi, you know, prove that the Audi has got what it takes. But now onto lap 50, we go round the outside of JSR John. I thought he might be able to get the undercut on me in this race. He'd taken a good sort of 600-700 feet at me through the pit stop window, though. As we head on to the final lap of the race, someone else that gained a lot through the pit stop window was THR Sparky, as you can see. He was all over the back of me, in fact, actually ahead by the time he came out of the pit stop. So I go right around the outside, though, as we come up the hill. We have got one lap to try and hold on ahead of him in this race. Now, I would certainly take P2 to P2. Sadly, Lawrence, you know, just that bit too quick in this race. Just that car just seemed a bit too stable through the corners for us to really be able to do anything about it as well. So, you know, hopefully we can try and hold on to P2. I would certainly take that. Aerox Bobby had a few issues in this race. Sadly, you know, he dropped back ever so slightly at turn 1. Had a bit of a sim twitch later on in the race. And, yes, sadly, I think did end up dropping to 6th in our race as well. So, yeah, a bit unfortunate for him as well in these races. He did not have a good time out of it last night as well. As, yeah, like I said, very, very unfortunate for him. But in towards the final sector of this race, so we have been able to get a little bit of a gap to Sparky. You know, we're sort of talking 60, 70 feet here. But you see, that McLaren is obviously a bit strange where well, I mean, after race 1, I'm only really used to racing the Mercs and the Astons. That McLaren actually a bit more similar to the Audi overall. It's a bit better down the straights. It's actually one of the cars that I feel can match the Audi down the straights, as you'll see in race 2. There are a couple of situations where he was actually, you know, holding level with me towards the end of the straights, and just that little bit weaker through the corners, and that means for us, it's just that bit easier to defend from him as well, which is obviously quite nice because, you know, you can actually just get the car into the places you want. You know, he hasn't got that much of an OP advantage going through the corners that, you know, there's nothing you can really do about it as well. But in towards the final couple of corners, though, Sparky almost gets a tremendous run in towards the final corner of this race. We're just very careful on the throttle through the final corner there. Sparky is going to be all over the back of me, but we are going to be able to hold on to P2 in the opening rounds of the night. They're top non-Merc / Audi, but only just at the end of the day. They're just finishing ahead of Sparky in race 1 of the night. So really, really happy with that one. And he's sort of the only other real, you know, sort of non-Aston or Merc in this series. Now, I'm having a look at the standings overall, and yeah, inside the top 20, it's literally 3 of our Audis and him that are not in those cars as well. But yeah, we're going to skip straight on, though, into race 2 of the night, you know, in towards the final couple of corners of the formation lap. It was a grid of the results from race 1. Probably not the best way to word that one, but still, hey ho. So quite look forward to this race once again. Starting P2 for the second time of the night. Hopefully, this time around, we can try and get a bit of a better run on AMR Lawrence here. Just see if we can try and get past him off the start once more. You know, we're getting a little bit aggressive down the straight. You know, we both clearly have a lot of intent on where we want to go as well. But it is lights out and away we go then for race 2 of the night. It's basically going to be a drag race actually down towards turn 1 there. Lawrence actually got on the power ever so slightly sooner than myself though, but we do swing it right around the outside there. A little bit of contact maybe between the powers as he tries to squeeze me out over the curves, but we do go right around the outside as we come in towards turn 2 here. Still side by side. It's going to get very, very close there. No contact on my screen there. I don't think Lawrence, I think he had a tiny bit there on his, unfortunately, there, but yeah, nothing we could really do about that one. You know, we basically had the car fully ahead as we came through turn 2 there, and in towards the bus stop, he's just going to get absolutely swamped by everyone else there. Very, very unfortunate for him, but works out for me because, you know, off the start, we need to absolutely leg it. Try to build up a bit of an advantage if we can in this race and just see where we end up, you know, as we come now down in towards the next couple of corners here. You can see Sparky up into P2 of class once again here, so hopefully, you know, we can try and build up a bit of a margin from him. But sadly, race 2 for the first half of the race was pretty uneventful on the whole. You know, we weren't really able to build up much of a margin, but there really wasn't much going on either as well. As you can see, by the end though of lap 13, once again, AMS Merckx basically overtaking me at the exact same place that he did in race 1. Deja vu, if ever I've been there as well. But yeah, like I said, in race 1, race 2, safe to say it gets interesting towards the end of this race. You know, everyone's trying to fight hard, everyone's a bit more confident in the lap traffic. You know, for me personally, where I don't just play Forza that much, you know, there aren't many multi-class races on Forza. They just don't really get hosted that often. So a lot of people really do struggle with multi-class. Personally, I like to think, you know, it's actually one of my stronger points on the whole. There as Shelby goes for an absolute lunge in towards turn 1 here. You can see Lawrence actually comes out the pit lane just in front of me as well here. So maybe he's been able to get quite a good undercut there. We're going to try and go for the switchback move though. A little bit of contact maybe between the powers, and we're just a wall there for that full BMW that gets caught out behind us there side by side as we come up the hill. You know, these guys have to get around us. This is not our problem. We're allowed to battle as much as we want there. And Mercedes of SVR is all over the back of Tico as well there as we come now down in towards the bus stop chicane. We are now back up into the net lead of this race here. So this is looking absolutely fantastic for myself so far here. I get a bit of a punt though from, who was that, GTR Jula DT. So he was lunging it on me in race 1. He's punting out wide in race 2 there, and it's just giving Lawrence a little bit of an opportunity once again. They're very, very close as we come through the next couple of corners there. He's actually pushing me along, which sadly affects both of the rotations in our car. That sadly just creates a lot of understeer for the powers there. You know, we're just trying to do absolutely everything we can at the moment, parking it on the exit of the corner there just to try and make sure he cannot get the switchback move, and then we can utilise all of the Audi power as we come up the next straight here. We've got another car as well. I think that's SVR Twitch, who's going to look up the inside of Lawrence. You know, I was already committed to the corner. I don't think he was really going to be able to make a move work anyway there, as well as we move back over to the racing line. We're just not allowing him. I mean, he wasn't really close enough anyway, but, you know, we're just committing to these corners. You know, they can stay back if they need to. You know, perhaps they should be up close to the rest of their field there. But sadly, once again, I just dipped the wheels on the grass. I have no idea what it is about SVR Twitch, but I cannot just drive around in there. LSEM0 once again sneaks through there. A bit of contact between him and Lawrence there through the final couple of corners. But yeah, that was a very, very stupid mistake from myself. We're now going to have a look up the inside of Lawrence there as GTR Martin tries to get up the inside of the powers there. That could have almost been a very, very big incident between all three of us there. But luckily we do hold on. We're going to get a better run on the exit of turn 1 here on Lawrence here. Side by side once again as we come up the hill here. Just look at the Audi power. We understeer out a little bit in front of him there, but it's going to be entirely flat through these couple of corners there. We've got another GT3 absolutely all over the place here. We've got ETR Relentless there, and sadly we're, you know, just going to get pinched on the inside here. I wanted to get back up to the racing line there, but MFC Brothers was already there, so we couldn't really go for that one, but luckily it actually worked out okay for all of us there. You know, no one really lost too much time, I like to think, through that one, with just how much later the GT3s can break there. But once again, Lawrence all over the back of me here. Can we defend for another 3 laps in this race? I really, really wanted to try and get this race victory in race 2 of the night. You know, I was really, really trying to push hard and see what I can manage here, because, you know, Lawrence, like I say, he got a bit swamped at the start there. You know, put him a bit on the back foot. No doubt he was a bit quicker than me in this second race once again, but I really did just feel, you know, this Audi, give it sort of 3-4 laps and we would just about be able to do enough to defend in this race. THL Sparky as well, you can see way up the road there, has now dived in to the pit lane as well. So it's going to be interesting to see where he comes out. I think he was saying in party chat that he actually had a few issues with, I think he hit the pit wall actually on the way in, which is certainly not ideal for him at this late stage of the day there. You can see Lawrence is now under pressure from AMS Huracan once again there. So we need to absolutely try and make a bit of a breakaway for it in towards these final couple of laps. They're trying to, you know, use up all of the track space here around Watkins Glen as we now come out onto lap 16 of this race here. But we have still got a couple more GT3 cars as well to navigate. There is Sparky still in the pit lane there. He's going to come out just a little bit behind all of us there. And I don't think he's really going to be able to pressure us in these final couple of laps of this race, as long as obviously we don't end up in too much carnage as well here. But as you can see, coming up the hill one more time, and just Lawrence, he's getting a bit closer, but that obviously isn't Lawrence on the proximity arrow there. That was actually TUS Spectre. He goes right around the outside. We've got another GT3 car as well trying to close up, and he's just not close enough to me to really go for any move there, but he tries to show the nose, and we panic a little bit there, park the bus through the corner. Really, he's done himself more damage than it was worth there, and now he's going to... is he going to try and launch it up the inside? Yes, he is. Look at that. Why on earth would you go for that one? Pushes me out wide. Not really too sure how I feel about that one. As we come into the next couple of corners, he just decides to just not turn into that corner as well. So we're still going to be 3 wide as we come down the hill here. Lawrence and I going side by side still. I think Koenigsegg actually bails out of that one. We're going to break really late in towards the next couple of corners there and try to go for a bit of a switch back move. Are we going to be able to get anything though? Huracan sticks the nose up the inside, but look at the power of the Audi. Right around the outside we go there. We're going to try and take a little bit of slipstream from Koenigsegg as well. There is potentially we're going to actually launch it up the inside of Lawrence there, get caught out on the curbs, and just, you know, a little bit of contact maybe between the pair of them, but nothing really too much for either of us there. Kieran's going to have a look around the outside in towards the final few corners of the lap, and this is really just costing us both ever so slightly at this late stage of the day here, because, you know, Lawrence now, he's in the clear air once more, and I think he's just going to be able to make a bit of a breakaway for it as we come now down in towards the final couple of corners of this lap. Kieran's just going to run into the back of me there, and that is going to really cost us both a whole heap of time there as we come in towards the final couple of corners of the lap, as you're about to see, because JSR John had done the overcut, I should say, of Dreams in this race. As we come in towards Talmunna, you know, that's cost us about 140 feet on the whole there. As you can see by Lawrence just a bit further up the road. You know, we could have been all over the back of Lawrence as we came up the hill there, but sadly because of that contact, JSR John has really been able to make that one work on both myself and the Huracan there. You know, really a bit frustrated with that one on the hub, because, you know, look, we're 90 feet back. We could have easily been there, ready to at least, you know, been side by side as we came into the bus stop there, and I would have fancied my chances in this car as well there. But sadly, you know, John has been able to make the overcut work. You know, we've still got half a lap to go though in this race to try and get the cut back on him as well here. As we run a little bit wide there, Kieran follows me out. I think everyone starting to understeer at this late stage of the day. You know, just trying to get the car caught on to the curbs there as we come now down in towards the final few corners of this race. Kieran's got a bit of a run, but he's going to be on the outside in towards the hairpin once more there. And this is one corner the Audi was actually okay through on the whole, as long as you got it nice and on the apex through the corner as well. We're going to be able to get a much better run on the exit there, down in towards the final few corners of this race. We've got about a 50 foot margin over Kieran now as we come now down in towards the the second to last right-hander of this race. 2 more lefts and 1 more right will take us through to the end of this race there. JSR John still just in front of me here. Are we going to be able to do anything in towards the final couple of corners? I think he might just be a tiny bit too far ahead as we break now down in towards the second to last corner there. John actually clips the grass though. This potentially could be a bit of an opportunity here, but we try and have a look up the inside. Kieran though tries to have a look up the inside of myself though, so we accidentally blocked off that move without even intended to. We were trying to look up the inside of John. He was trying to have a look up the inside of me. We all do come out of it alive though. Lawrence will go back to back in B lobby there. John will come through for P2, myself P3, Kieran 4th, Sparky down in P5 there, and Bobby would sadly quit race 2 after a bit of a sim twitch once again then. Yeah, the second race, quite exciting on the whole, certainly a fair bit of action as well. I did quite enjoy that one on the whole. Can only imagine how much more enjoyable it would have been with, you know, sort of 10, 11 cars in GT4 there as well. But that is it for round 1 then of the British GT here at Watkins Glen. Hopefully, if you guys are new around here and you have gone on to enjoy, make sure you get yourself liked and subscribed. Overall, in the standings, we are currently sat in P7 overall after the opening week of this series. Myself, yep, P7, Wolf 16th, Liam 17th, and Matt in 23rd overall. We're just 13 points off the top as well. And in the Teams Championship, we are currently in P5, myself and Wolves as well. The only, well, I mean, obviously myself and Wolves in 5th, the other team in 6th. The only non-Aston or Merc inside the top 13 teams on the whole there as well. So, we'll certainly take that one. But thank you all so much for watching this video. Get yourself subscribed if you're new around here as well, and I will hopefully see you guys next time for another video.